This is what happened when Ricky Gervais said out loud what most of Hollywood had only ever dared to whisper about Ellen DeGeneres: untouchable. That was the word people used for her. Queen of daytime television, the woman whose face appeared everywhere, whose brand rested on two words: be kind. Millions of viewers bought into it completely. Hollywood's biggest names lined up to sit across from her, and the image held together so well that challenging it felt almost pointless. And then it started coming apart. Former employees stepped forward with stories about what was allegedly happening behind the cameras, and the details were not flattering. A toxic workplace, intimidation, mistreatment, discrimination, misconduct. The face that had made Ellen one of the most recognizable people on Earth began cracking under the weight of those accounts. And right in the middle of that growing noise, Ricky Gervais showed up and poured gasoline on the fire. What Ricky actually said is more specific than most people remember, so let's lay it out clearly. His skepticism about Ellen's public persona stretches back years, and his position has never really shifted. The kindness always felt performed, never real, never something that came from an honest place. Joe Rogan and Tom Dillon both landed on the same conclusion independently, each noting that someone who performs warmth that relentlessly tends to register as anything but warm. None of that was explosive on its own. What got people's attention was the next part, because Ricky didn't stop at calling her persona fake. The atmosphere behind the cameras, by his account, had nothing to do with discomfort or difficult personalities, and everything to do with fear. Staff existed either inside the inner circle or outside of it. And being on the wrong side of that line carried real consequences. That framing landed differently because a former writer who had spent 2 years on the show came forward and confirmed it from her own experience.
Yeah, I did the first 2 years on that show.
And she was
She was rough. She was the C word. Yeah.
Was she just short with you? I mean, what was exactly
It was like
happening?
if you didn't pitch in her wheelhouse, then she looked at you like you had just stabbed her puppy. And then there was this process of pushing people out of the circle. And you want to be in the circle because there's a lot of fear going on.
Yeah.
And you're in or out. So there's a lot of it didn't really bother me that much because I'd written on a lot of shows before and I kind of knew what it was like to have tough bosses.
Yeah.
I wrote for Bill Maher.
Sure.
And so I was just tough enough, but then there was these first time writers they used to cry. There was a lot of crying in the hallways.
Wow.
None of that fits the woman who spent years telling her audience to be kind to one another. Getting to the bottom of how Ellen accumulated that kind of power means going back to the beginning, because her rise wasn't clean or obvious. 23 years old, no real direction, and a resume that included painting houses, factory work, bartending, and selling vacuum cleaners. Stand-up comedy never entered the plan. A friend talked her into performing at a charity event. She discovered she could make a room laugh, and almost by accident, a career began. By her own admission, she wasn't deeply passionate about comedy itself, but her easygoing style connected with audiences in a way that translated into real momentum. Through the 1980s, she worked the road and built a following, and 1982 brought a major milestone when Showtime named her funniest person in America, putting her directly on Hollywood's radar. Late-night appearances followed, which, for any comedian at that time, represented a serious step up. 1994 was when ABC handed her a sitcom called Ellen, where she played a quirky bookstore owner to solid ratings. 3 years later, in 1997, the show entered television history with what everyone came to call the puppy episode. The moment Ellen's character came out as gay on network television in a way that had never been done before. The cultural impact was real, but the career fallout was just as real. Work dried up, smaller film roles replaced the television momentum, and her then partner Anne Heche found her own career declining during that same stretch. Anne later described the period in detail, including a meeting where studio representatives told her directly that attending a film premiere with Ellen would cost her a $10 million picture deal. She went to the premiere anyway. The deal disappeared exactly as promised. Years after the relationship ended, Anne made her feelings about Ellen plainly clear. Power and money, she said, were what Ellen ultimately wanted, and nothing was going to stand between her and getting them. Their split, by Anne's account, came down to the fact that Ellen's destination was wealth, and Ellen's destination alone, while she was looking for something that actually resembled love. Their paths, she put it, were never going to meet. The pandemic chapter is where people who had never given much thought to the earlier criticisms started paying attention. When audiences disappeared and productions scrambled to adjust, Ellen brought in a non-union company to film the show from her home, rather than find a way to keep her existing team working. Writers, producers, and staff who had kept the show running were cut loose without jobs, without severance, and without health insurance. All while Ellen continued producing episodes from a $15 million mansion. Around that same time, she described the experience of quarantining at home as similar to being in jail, a comparison that landed badly with people who were losing their apartments and couldn't cover groceries, especially given that she owned enough real estate across Los Angeles to have simply relocated to a different property if the walls were closing in. DJ Tony, the show's original DJ before Twitch took over the role, added his voice to the conversation and confirmed that the work environment had been toxic, which meant something specifically because of how Tony had always appeared on screen. Smiling, good-natured, never visibly bothered. The reality behind that presentation, by his account, told a different story. Twitch is a part of this story that deserves to be handled carefully. He replaced Tony and became genuinely beloved by the show's audience. In December of 2022, Twitch was found dead in a hotel room near his home. The death ruled a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His mother, upon learning what happened, expressed immediate suspicion and refused to accept the official account as complete. On-screen moments added another dimension to the picture being assembled around Ellen. Taylor Swift's appearance drew particular attention, specifically a game segment where Swift was asked to identify men she had dated or been involved with. Visibly uncomfortable and reportedly close to tears, Swift asked Ellen to stop, and Ellen kept going. Every talk show host has access to the same off-ramp in a moment like that. Ellen chose not to take it. People who studied the show's history pointed to that moment as consistent with a pattern rather than an isolated lapse. Making guests feel exposed and off balance appeared to be part of the approach, something that ran deeper than ordinary talk show playfulness. And critics argued that the discomfort radiating from those segments reflected something genuine about the person running the room. Ellen's off-screen connections are where the story becomes harder to walk away from. Her friendship with George W. Bush attracted consistent criticism, partly because of the visible warmth between them at NFL games and partly because of what Bush spent his time in office doing, specifically fighting against gay rights and marriage equality, the exact rights that directly shaped Ellen's own life. Critics struggled to square that friendship with anything the show had ever claimed to stand for. Ricky Gervais, building on his earlier comments, argued that Ellen's network of relationships in Hollywood extended well beyond what audiences ever understood, and that those connections served a specific function, protecting her. His suggestion that her ties to Jeffrey Epstein's social circle went beyond casual celebrity proximity attracted immediate attention, though Ricky himself framed those claims as circumstantial, and the available evidence supports that framing. What it did was focus attention on the Epstein files moving through the courts, including a batch of unredacted documents covering secret emails that a federal judge ordered released. A family also came forward during this period claiming that content involving their situation on the show had been fabricated, raising questions about what the production was actually doing and who was being brought in to serve its purposes. Ricky's broader argument ties everything together. And it isn't really about Ellen specifically. It's about the system that kept her protected. Hollywood has a method for handling its most powerful figures, and that method involves suppressing criticism, minimizing allegations, and making sure that people who speak up find themselves on the wrong end of relationships they can't afford to lose. The protection Ellen received by Ricky's account wasn't informal or accidental. It was deliberate, and the years it took for any of this to enter the public conversation serve as the clearest possible evidence that it worked. Anne Heche described the same machinery from the inside. Certain truths were deliberately erased, she said. And it took 20 years before enough space existed for people to actually hear what she had been saying. The longer she stayed close to Ellen, the deeper that burial went. Ricky Gervais holds one position that has never changed. The truth eventually closes the distance. Years or decades may pass, but the mask comes off. What no longer gets debated is the damage to the image Ellen constructed over decades. Former employees, an ex-partner, colleagues, and public figures have each arrived at the same description of a person who looked nothing like the one sitting behind that daytime desk. The gap between the public performance and the private reality, by account after account, turned out to be enormous. Ricky Gervais said it louder than anyone else was willing to.